Okay, how are you, Dan?
Doing well.
I see you at home.
I took the day off since
That
my
that is good for you.
wife is leaving for Thailand on Saturday night. We decided we would like to spend a little bit more time, at least in the same house, even if not holding on to each other the whole time.
Sounds good. I like that. Your wife must love it.
She
Okay,
likes that time. She's not jealous of any other woman, but she is jealous of my time.
gotcha. So how are you, Donna?
I'm great. I'm great.
Good to see you smiling.
Thank you.
Okay, Dan, I have received your assignments. So which one you wanna cover first today?
Probably the indicators. I'm getting to a point where some of the terminology I'm not always aware of or sure of what the terminology means. So I'm
Okay,
trying to
so
get into those, especially as we get into the last few.
That me?
all right. So I'm opening up this document. Excuse me. So which one you want to talk about?
I start the first one that I've indicated. I think it's IA 11. No, it's IA 15. The difference between spiritual assessments and spiritual histories.
Oh, gotcha. All right. Donna, would you mind in differentiating those two?
Yeah, this one we kind of talk about it so quickly. I'm trying to okay, I can see what you've written. It's in yellow. Which one is- Oh, okay. So what you said recently, I have found a redefinition as finding what degrades or enhances one's life. All events are spiritual. Okay. So in the hospital, there's a spiritual, sometimes they call it religious, but most often they call it a spiritual screening, where when
Yes.
a person first comes in contact with someone in the hospital system, often that's in the emergency room, but not always, they will just ask them, do you have any spiritual tradition?
Let me close the window here. We got somebody mowing the lawn.
Sure. I'm about to have somebody mowing the lawn too.
I'm on the third floor, so they don't know much of my lawn, but
Oh, okay. So that right there, when they ask that question, that's the spiritual screen.
that would be something that doctors and nurses do, or we may
Or
do.
an intake person, a social worker may do that. And they just want to know, do you have a spiritual tradition? And then they check off the box. Then the spiritual history can be taken by a doctor or a nurse or a social worker, where they will ask a couple of questions like, tell me about your spirituality. And they may say, I'm Christian, I'm Buddhist, I'm whatever. And they may ask another question, how does it impact your being in the hospital? And they may say dietary or something else. So that's spiritual screen and spiritual history. The next step, spiritual assessment, is only done by a chaplain, because the chaplain then takes that whole conversation to another level, and they want to know how your spirituality is helping you cope, what enables you to find meaning, how can it support you with what's going on with you right now in the hospital, whether that's a good thing or it's a challenging thing. what might your doctors or care team need to know about your spirituality and how it informs how they care for you. So it goes into depth. And once you determine what their spiritual need is, it could be purpose, like yesterday when we talked about the movie, then you figure out what your intervention will be, what your response will be to meet that need. You say what that's going to be in a spiritual assessment. They had a need for purpose. I decided to facilitate them in a conversation on a life review. And then you determine if it worked. And you say, you know what? My spiritual intervention worked. When they did the life review, they had a greater appreciation for their purpose and they were reminded of how their purpose matters today. So, a spiritual assessment, you can hear how it has so many more components. And only a chaplain is able to do that because you're the one that figures out the spiritual need, the intervention, and does it, and then figures out if it works.
Okay, so the spiritual, I mean, we have on Epic, we have a bunch of boxes that we can check as well. How are they doing? And that's basically the history. How are they right now? It doesn't talk about their need, just talks about how they are.
That's
They are
right.
anxious, they are angry, they're accepting, they're happy, but those are just check boxes, and it shows how they are, and perhaps gives a little bit, if somebody's looking, gives a little bit of look as to how this person is as they are in the hospital right now.
That's right. But
Whereas
then
what I
if you have a place when you're in the record where you can enter a text, where you can enter words, you don't sometimes they have check boxes too, but you can definitely enter something. That's where you'd be entering the results of your spiritual assessment.
they're anxious and they need some peace.
That's right. Or as they talked, I realized their spiritual need is for purpose. And my intervention was a life review. And following the life review, they had a renewed sense of their purpose. That would have been your write-up of your spiritual care assessment, intervention, and the result.
In this case, when visiting with them, I took them through a little exercise on finding some peace. It's just one that
Yes.
helped me years ago. I don't know if it's published anywhere, but it was just the idea of letting them go. I picked up they're Christians, so let them go into the presence of God, into a room with God, just lay down on their face in front of Him, and not say anything for 60 seconds.
Mm.
Yeah.
Just for
So
60 seconds. Just for
yeah,
60 seconds.
then you did good. So what you did was a spiritual assessment.
Yeah.
So if I can boil it down extremely, spiritual
Mm-hmm.
assessment is to figure out what is their spiritual needs and then what are their spiritual resources. Two things. You can boil it down to two things. So you figure out their spiritual needs and their spiritual resources. So that's the spiritual assessment. It can be done only by us chaplains. Only you can do that. And then you found the spiritual need of the patient or patient family for peace. Okay. So boil it down to two things. Figure out their spiritual needs and their spiritual resources. Spiritual screen, I mean oh, you just popped out. You muted.
We just lost him. I
Yeah.
love what you just said. That's a simple way to say it.
Mm.
History is resources, assessment is needs, intervention, and effectiveness.
Yeah.
Come back, Dan. Come back.
Yeah,
He's
usually
probably
for the first or second unit students, it's better for us to just boil it down to some statements. Yeah.
right. Board certification, that would not pass.
No, of course not. Yeah.
But if you just add
Yeah.
intervention
Right.
and did it work, it would pass.
Yeah. Right.
So they're not far from it. They're right there.
Yeah. So it's important for us to to use the language that they can understand.
Oh, wow. Was he on his phone today? I didn't pay
I
attention.
thought he was on the computer. Let me try to call
Oh,
him.
no, he was, because he was at home. I'm gonna write down that language real quick. I like that.
Yeah. So I usually tell them, try to figure out the needs and the spiritual needs and the resources. After you figure that out, you find how to intervene.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then once you intervene, you figured out if it worked.
Right.
Okay.
And if it's not working, you want to make correction, and then that's self-evaluation. So that's the way how they grow up
Well,
on different levels.
okay.
Yeah.
I have a heater on, so I keep turning my.
Are you okay? Oh, I see. I gotcha. All right. I'll see you soon. Bye. His laptop battery is gone.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So you try to plug in.
Okay.
All right. Oh,
Now one thing, it's another.
yeah. So that's the beauty of education here. You never know.
Yes. You
Anything
never
can
know.
happen. Right.
You never know. There you are.
And the battery gave out, so
Good.
I had to.
All right. Good to see you again. So let me share this again, Dan. So you said at the bottom of the first box, it said they were extremely anxious and their autistic son was picking up on it. So this is all very good, the spiritual assessment. I emphasize, you said, did you mean empathized or emphasized? Did you empathize or emphasize?
Empathize. The fingers sometimes say differently than the
Right,
mouth.
right. I thought that's what you meant. So I empathized that they needed some peace to give it to him. All right, very good. Yeah. So like Donna said, you found the right approach, intervention, the right intervention. After you figured out their need, you figured out their spiritual need, which is for peace. So you, excuse me, so you showed them how to get 60 seconds of peace. Okay, so that was your intervention. And
Just
you empathize, that is also your intervention. You empathize. Very good, Dan. Anything else?
This one is an awareness of IA-17.
17. Awareness and initial use of the clinical method of learning. Action, reflection, action. Individual session, it was pointed out that. Okay, so tell me, what did you not get?
For me, it's getting the definitions and making sure I'm some of these things I've done, but I haven't known the definitions. So the clinical method of learning that I've learned was basically it's almost like a scientific method of learning. You put out you do something, you reflect on it, and then you figure out whether it was right or wrong, and then you act on that later.
Correct.
In another way, and that's what I tried to point
Yeah,
out.
that's correct. Yeah. So those two approaches or methodology are the same thing with different names. Clinical method of learning, it's also called action, reflection, and changed action, or new action, or alternative action. So they're basically the same thing. Okay,
Almost-
it's called the clinical method. Why
almost
it's called
think-
clinical method of learning? Because it began in the medical field, clinical field. We adopted that from the clinical field. So that's why it's called the clinical method of learning. All right, good. 18.
I've been a mandated reporter before for probably 10 years, maybe more.
Right, right. So
So
what do you not get about this?
Oh, I don't. It's just the fact that I had to make sure that I wrote right.
Okay, I have had to have a working relationship with APS. I have made reports on account of fiduciary abuse, self-abuse, and physical abuse. In some cases, several different calls for a single person. Are you talking about your current experience in your children's hospital? Are you talking about your past experience?
Past experience. I have not had to do that yet. So that all I can do is pull upon past experience.
Yeah, so all the evidences have to be the current experiences. So remember, your goal at level 1A is not to be able to articulate or to do it. It's basically awareness.
Okay.
So basically, all you can say in the right box is say, I am aware. I am aware of the concept of the policy of mandatory reporting requirements. I am aware of that. I know what that is, and this is what it is about. That's all you need to say, okay? And I'm ready to adhere. Okay. All right, that's all you need to say. Because it's asking you to be aware. So at this level, your goal is to be aware. You don't need to show a case where you practiced it.
Okay.
All right. Okay. But I'm assuming, quite sure that you will bump into cases like that sooner or later.
That's probably something that usually the social workers and nurses are aware of before chaplains are, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not only for chaplains, yeah, but also for other disciplines as well. Yes.
But I heard you saying that they would encounter it before you. And my experience is no, not necessarily. That the chaplain may be the one that the person says, I'm thinking of harming myself. And it's the responsibility of the chaplain, even if they talk it through with the person, to inform the charge nurse and to make a note in the chart. So that came up in our discussion yesterday, and you were saying you didn't want security to meet the doctor down the hall and arrest him. So in that situation was a little different. But with patients, the chaplain may be the one that hears it for the first time, you document it, and you tell the charge nurse.
Now, in the past, when going through suicidal awareness, I had to go through whether or not this was credible or not, such as do they have a plan? Do they have a weapon? Is
Yeah,
that
yeah, so Dan, I'm curious about where you're coming from when you ask the question. So is it have to be us first, or is it going to be them first? I'm curious where you're coming from by asking the question. Do you have some incident that made you ask that question?
well, the idea that somebody says, I just want to kill myself. And in asking them about it, they're not very detailed with what with how they're going to do that. They don't have a gun. They don't have any pills. They're not on a high building. They have no plan. They have no availability of a gun, or they don't know how many Tylenol I have to take to be able to kill themselves. Do you still report it to the charge nurse that the fact they said, oh, I want to kill myself?
Okay, that's a good question. Yeah. What do you think, Donna?
There are ways when somebody in a conversation says, oh, I just want to kill myself, and they don't literally mean that. They're just being, whatever that word is, hyperbolic or whatever, right? But here's the difference between the other role you had and being a chaplain. Should someone say that and they really mean it, they're not just exaggerating or trying to make a point, right? You don't have to assess their ability to carry it out. You are a mandatory reporter in the role of a chaplain. Your mandate is to report.
Okay.
You don't have to assess the viability of their expressed desire to harm themselves. You can even say, I'm not sure they meant it.
Yeah.
Mandatory reporter, you still report.
Oh, now I see where you're coming from, Dan. So it seems like you're talking about the final judgment call. Who makes the judgment call? It's not us, chaplain. Again, we're not the ones who do diagnosis. We're
Right.
not the ones who make the final call on this, like sociological issues. There's always somebody else. but still we do have this responsibility to report it. Okay, basically, as Donna said, I'm not quite sure, what they truly mean by this, but I heard this. I just want to let you know. Okay. Yeah, you don't need to make judgment call. You don't do that. You don't do the diagnosis. You don't do the judgment call. You just hand it over to. If you hand it over to, there's no problem because you just let them know about what happened, what you heard. But if you don't tell them about what you heard, then it can cause trouble sometimes because you didn't report. Okay.
Right.
So you don't have to feel too much responsibility about the judgment call. Just pretty much share it. So the word report may mean some legal connotation in that, connotation in that you may feel like, but it's not. So the wording could be more like sharing, basically. Okay, we're not legally reporting, we're sharing. It's not your judgment call.
I don't have to call Adult Protective Services and call 911.
That's right. You don't have to do that, but
Right.
you are documenting in the medical records, right?
Yes.
That is a legal document, and
Yes.
you're mandated to note it. You don't have to assess it.
Yeah.
That's what you heard. I
Yeah.
told
So
my child,
basically what you say is he's a suicidal. No, don't say that.
nope, we
You
don't say that.
just say, quote unquote, I heard this and this. That's all you need to say, Charlie.
Yep.
Don't make a call. Don't say something, oh, he's suicidal, or like he has a suicidal ideation. No, you don't say that.
Right, because those are diagnoses.
Yeah. Okay. We
That's
just
a great
share. Yeah.
clarification.
Right.
Good job, Dan.
Good job, Dan. Yeah.
Yeah.
I see more and more you're making differentiation between the role as a social worker and the role as a chaplain. That's a great job, Dan.
Even when I was a manager, was still a mandated reporter. Even farther that if I walked into somebody's apartment and it was knee deep in filth, and you could smell body odor coming out of the apartment, and saw stuff all over the place, you had to call Adult Protective Services, and they had to make a call. Or if I saw people hanging around in the apartment that I didn't think belonged there, some of the homeless that would take over apartments over in Santa Maria, then I had to call Adult Protective Services, and they would come over and they would make their assessment of what had to be done or could be done.
I hear you. Yeah. So as a social worker, the word report meant a lot with some sort of like a legal result. Yeah. So that's where you're coming from.
I had to fill out a form and send it to them, and they would work on it from there. And sometimes had to give multiple reports.
Gotcha. All right. But we're a different role now. Our main job is to deal with the spirituality. Okay. They don't even know, they have no understanding about what we mean by spirituality. We are the experts in this. Okay, let's move on to weekly reflection. What about weekly reflection you want to talk about? You want to talk about the 13-year-old girl or what else?
Either one of them, both of them this time. I try to stay away from the doom and gloom a little bit more. I think something that's a little bit different at the children's hospital than in a general hospital is we see more acute crises over there. You can see 10 acute crises that people are dealing with that they don't know how to handle, and you see those every day. On the other hand, sometimes I see some things that are pretty good. The first one, 13-year-old girl, she just came in for some plastic surgery on her lower lip. Her parents were there. She was relaxed. They were relaxed. She was smiling. They were smiling. I asked how she was doing. She said she was doing pretty well. I looked over at mom and dad and said, how are they doing? And there was a gesture that I saw that I've seen over and over again and just kind of made connection when I saw her do it, because she did it a little bit longer. And that stop looking at me and turn to look at them and study them for a little while. And then she said, they're doing okay. Mom is a little bit nervous though. And I saw that in strong families over and over and over again. If they had weaknesses, the kid didn't look towards the parents, didn't turn and look. But what I perceived as strong parents, they actually turned away from me, looked over at mom and dad, and studied them for a while, and then turned back to me and gave me an answer. I wouldn't have seen that except for the fact that I've seen it several times. There's a sheer repetition.
So what did you learn from this incident? What was the meaning of this incident for you?
That the family, well, and I praised them as being a good family. I praised them as being a strong family. Part of it was just in seeing this bond and being able to look at it, watch it. Not everything is a crisis. But sometimes I think just your spirituality is not necessarily having to fix something. It's not having to correct something. It's not getting deep, deep, deep down into the dark parts of the soul. Sometimes it's just enhancement of what is already there.
Sometimes being the observant of that healthy family. Sometimes you'd be just the witness to that healthy family. That all includes, yes. Right.
Here's a calm family, and they just need to be at some point in time, somebody from the out time saying, you are a good family. I like what I see. I like you.
Yeah.
And we haven't gotten down into deep, dark feelings or things that shake life.
Right.
Life doesn't always need to be shaken.
Right. So what did that incident make you feel as you witnessed to that? How did you feel about that?
I felt like I was putting just one extra little brick under their foundation to help them along. They had done all the work, but I was just, nothing was wrong. Nothing was cracked. Nothing was falling apart.
Right.
I just added a little bit more support that they may not ever remember, but just for that moment, adding a little bit more support to who and what they are.
Right. So you're still describing about what happened to you. I'm asking you about how you felt about that. And then I'm kind of pushing you a little bit.
Weakness of understanding feelings. I felt good about this.
Okay, so there are many more feeling words other than good. So out of this the feeling wheels, which one out of the main circle at the center, there are 7 main feelings. Which one did you feel?
Probably more along the surprised.
Oh, surprised. Okay, that's really surprising to hear that. Because by hearing you keep saying good, 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 I have no idea how you felt. So okay, surprised. And under surprised, there are 4 feelings. How did you feel?
Amazed.
Amazed. So under amazed, astonished, and awe. Which one?
I think more or less the idea of energetic. I was happy at what I saw within them.
I see. So you were surprised, amazed, happy, energetic.
Yes.
Yes. Sounds very congruent to your description. Now, if you may, can you explain what made you surprised, amazed, energetic, and happy? What about that incident? And how did the incident make you surprised, amazed, energetic, and happy?
This does not, as far as my family of origin, this does not connect.
That's right. So you did not connect, and then how did it make you feel excited, surprised, energetic, and happy, even though it didn't connect?
It was not connection. It was not something that I would encounter whenever, say, I was 10, 11, 12, 13, 14.
Right,
That was not my experience.
right.
So I was just happy to see this in a family.
Mm.
It was just surprising because I had not experienced that in my own.
Yes,
Even in the family where I had a wife and three children, that
right,
that was not that was not that was not part of it normally.
right. Wow. Then your description now is so vivid, so congruent about the way you look, about the way you describe. Now it sounds so congruent. There's congruence between how you describe and then how you feel, and then you help us connect it to you after you claim these feeling words. Seems like it is true that you do have feelings. You did feel feelings. That's very interesting then. Why am I doing this? There's a reason for this. So while you're in the room with this 13-year-old girl giving you this amazement, did you offer her empathic statements in the middle?
I am saying things such as, I like what I see.
Oh, beautiful. I like what I see. Okay. So now that you mentioned that that is not your language to offer empathic comments, let me give you some tricks or skill set to form empathic comments. All you need to do is start the statement with it seems, and then you add the feelings that you claimed in your heart. So remember those 4 feeling words you just claimed beautifully? And then add that feeling words behind that phrase, it seems. That's all you need to do to offer empathic statements. Let's go back to that room. You want to offer empathic comments to the 13-year-old girl in the middle. What would you say? Remember the formula.
It seemed like you really care about how your parents are
Oh, yeah,
doing.
yeah, very good. And remember, add feeling words. Just simply put feeling words. That's also very good. But be more like, what can I say? Congruent to your feelings. What can you say? It seems, or you
Maybe
seem. What?
I think you lost me there for a minute. I'm looking at that chart and I'm supposed to get out in the middle of
All right. I know this is new for you. You're doing very good.
it's a different language.
I know that. Yes,
studied
this is
Greek and
new for you.
Hebrew and a little bit of Thai, but
That's how it sounds for me. When you say feeling words, it sounds like Hebrew.
mhm.
So you mentioned surprised, amazed, energetic, happy. It's very simple. All you need to do is just add these 2 things. It seems, or you seem, and feeling. The feeling that you felt. That's all you need to do. Okay, say it, please.
You seem proud whenever you look at your parents.
Oh, yeah.
You seem that you trusting.
That's
You,
right. Very good, Dan. Wow. I would give you A for your Hebrew.
I've got the chart in front of me, so
Yes, yes. What? So okay, say more. You see
give
him.
me an open book test.
All right, then you see him. 2 more. You picked surprised, amazed, energetic, happy. All you need to just put it together. You seem what?
You seem like you're genuinely interested in how your parents feel.
Yes. You seem genuinely interested in your parents' feeling. You seem energetic. You seem happy. It seems amazing. That's all you need to do. It seems, you seem, and then add your feeling words. Then you may try to ask me that, how can I put it together? Because these feeling words are my feeling words. How can I do that? Can I do that? Yes. Why? Why can you offer your feeling words as an empathic statement? How could you do that, even though this is your feelings? Then, any guess?
I mean, how does that happen? I guess because I'm recognizing what is happening inside that person.
Yes.
She's just about to go into surgery, and
Yes.
how and her well-being
Yeah.
and recognition of her well-being
Right.
affects that procedure, even if it's a small one.
Right. So let's say, Dan, you said, oh, you seem energetic and you seem genuinely interested in your parents' feeling. What if it does not, what if she does not agree with you? What's going to happen? What if she doesn't agree with you?
And I guess I'm wrong. How do you feel? What's going on inside?
Okay, so if you got it wrong, for example, she was not energetic, then you said, oh, you seem energetic. Then what's going to happen to her mind?
What's going to happen if she's not energetic?
Yeah, so you said you offer some empathic comments by saying, oh, you seem energetic, or you seem genuinely interested in your parents' feeling. And if that's not how she felt, guess what's going to happen to her mind?
Well,
By
she might search around to find out what that feeling actually is.
Very good.
She,
Very
she might
good, Dan.
she might reject me and say, no, no, no,
Yeah,
that's not what it is.
right. So I don't, I kind of like it, but I don't like it by the word reject. I don't think she will reject you. She will disagree with you if she says that's not how I feel. But she will still accept you. She will still appreciate you. Why? Even though you got it wrong, by offering that empathic comments you made, oh, you seem energetic. And she said, no, I don't feel energetic. She will still accept you. Why? She still appreciates you. Why?
I'm trying to step into her world alongside of her.
Yes, because she knows that you tried to walk alongside with her. Even though you got it wrong, your gesture, your offer, your effort to connect and to walk alongside with her, that is delivered by your empathic comment. It's not about right or wrong, then. It's not about right or wrong.
It's not about getting the diagnosis right.
It's not about diagnosis.
Those powerful it seems, as opposed to you are happy.
Thank you so much, Tana.
So that's powerful, Dan. You just did it.
You just did it then, which is new language pattern for you. I see that because one of the fear, I see some fear in you when you feel hesitant to do it. And for some reason, seems like, I'm not saying you are, seems like there's some fear related to this about you can't get it wrong. I don't know where it's coming from. But between these two people interaction, it's not about getting right or wrong about the other person's feelings or thoughts. It's not about that. It's about my effort to connect and to my effort to walk alongside with that person. That penetrates. That's the purpose of offering empathic comments. It's not about getting it right, Donna.
And you heard that Joseph said it seems like, right? That you have some fear about getting it right or wrong. I'm wondering if you hear how much more inviting it is to say, it seems like you're excited, or I'm happy, I like your family. That actually is not as powerfully inviting as it seems like you're happy, or it seems like you're really interested in how your family feels. Can you hear how one is even more opening? Because the first one, as Joseph always reminds us, is a judgment.
Mhm.
And the other one is that empathic that you just did. That was beautiful, Dan.
Something else that somebody can be doing when you say something like that is maybe not even make a comment on it seems like this or that. You're on the outside,
Yes.
so I don't judge you as to because you're wrong about that, because that's when you say, to me it seems like you have a little bit of fear in that. That doesn't, the bell doesn't ring.
Mhm.
And that's how I look at things. If there's a little bell that is ringing in the back of my head, then you made a connection. If no bell rings, and it's
That's right.
okay, like
Yes.
you said, it's okay if you're wrong.
That is right. Yeah, that is right, Dan. So this is my observation, Dan. Sometimes I see you trying so much to get it right. Every word you say, every decision you make, you try so much to get it right, to make it perfect. I don't know why, but that's my observation.
Maybe it comes from the last being in the business I was in,
Right,
the last 20 years, where you have a management by intimidation.
right,
And if you have management by intimidation, you better get it right, because it will be pointed out how wrong you are
right.
as soon as you do something.
It explains a lot. That's context that you lived in. Makes a lot of sense. Right,
It's not my family origin; it's my business origin, and how I had to make sure that we would have audits, state audits, just about yearly, from the state of California, come down to these, and you didn't. You didn't spend $100,000. You spent $103,000.
right.
Explain that $3,000.
That's creepy to hear that. Right. So
Yes,
then
but
I'm aware of our time limit today. So so this is my challenge for you, Dan. Let me see if you could push yourself to grow on this area, which is to be able to claim these feeling words on these feeling wheels and try empathic comments in the middle of your conversation with the patient. So next time when you're verbatim, I hope to see you practicing it in your conversation, in the middle of your conversation with the patient, instead of waiting until the end. Keep offering these empathic comments and let me know that you are doing it. Okay?
okay.
I hope you can do that. I know you will do it. Let me ask Donna about this question. So Donna, when you have a conversation with a person in front of you, you say something and you keep on talking about your stories, and the person sitting in front of you do not respond to you until you finish your story. What do you think? What thoughts might arise in your mind having that kind of person in front of you listening to your story. No response in the
I
middle.
wonder if I have talked too much about me
Mm,
and taken the
right.
spotlight off them.
Yeah. Yeah. What else?
I wonder if they now feel like they're not seen.
Right.
And I wonder if they feel like they have to take care of me.
Right.
So how can I turn this back around? So I
Yes.
think of it like a spotlight. Did I just shine the spotlight all on me? How do I get this back on them?
Yeah. And sometimes I wonder, why is it so quiet? Is it judging me? Am I being wrong, or is it like laughing at me inside? Why is the person keep quiet inside?
They could even be triggered. Did
Right.
I say something that triggered them and they have left the room?
Right.
All sorts of things come to
Yeah.
mind.
Is he really here or she really here listening, or somewhere
Right.
else? Is his heart like in the fridge where there's ice cream left? So all different kinds of imagination can rise when we don't have any response from the person in front of us until the end of the story. Yeah. So that's why I keep emphasizing you need to respond in the middle. Yeah. And I'll say about this later a little more, Dan. Let me ask you about how do you define the word responsibility? What is your definition of responsibility?
Something that I must do,
Right.
morally,
Something, yeah.
morally obligated.
Right. Very good. So that's common understanding and the definition of responsibility, obligation, right? But actually, that is not the original definition of responsibility. Look at the word itself. This is the word is in combination with two words, respond and ability. So it originally meant ability to respond. Humans have ability to respond. It's not obligation. It's natural for us to respond because we do have the ability to respond. So it's natural for us to respond, whether emotionally or logically. And I think I told you this before about the scientists in the Harvard University did research, and they found out that humans respond naturally with emotion in 0.2 seconds. Whether you want to or not, it doesn't matter. We do respond because we have the ability to respond, because emotional response happens within 0.2 seconds. It's automatic. And if somebody do not show that, there's something happening there. There's something happening there, and then so that they do not let it out. But all humans have the ability to respond. So response are supposed to flow naturally. Yes. What seems like, oh, really? Okay. It's natural. So that the other person knows that we're hearing, knows that we're not judging, knows that we're connecting, knows that we're walking alongside. So that's the definition of responsibility and exercising. And then chaplains are known for being expert at responsibility. We're experts. I want you to demonstrate that. Okay. All right, Dan, have a good day. Have a good week. I'll see you next Wednesday.
Sounds good.
Awesome work. Awesome work.
Thank you. Thank you.
Love it. All right. Hey, Lisa,
Hey, how y'all doing?
how are
Great.
you?
How are you?
Doing good.
Good. Long time no see since yesterday. I'm I know you missed us so badly, so you came back. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Um, so we received your assignments. So you want to go which one first, or you have something else to share with us?
Well, I did contact, I sent you an email. I contacted hospice to see if they had any opportunities for me to come and volunteer, and he would check into it. This is in Asheville. I was trying to contact the one in Forest City, but they connected me with the one in Asheville for some reason. So he
Okay.
said he's not opposed to it and he would check it out, and would I also be willing to like make phone calls to families and
Yeah.
people and talk to
Yeah.
them?
Yeah.
So
That could be a great beginning. Yeah. What there's some terminology for that. It's like a telecare. I don't know what they call it, but there's some word for that. Donna, do you know what it is?
That's what we call it at our hospital, telecare.
Telecare. Okay. Right.
oh, okay.
Yeah. So that could be a great beginning, Lisa, for you to be acquainted with the system and slowly I think they also could use this term to know you more, to to assess you with your pastoral care skills. And then if they really like the way you approach, you may end up with like higher sometimes. But I think it could be a good learning environment for you to start with. Yeah, let me know.
I will.
Yeah. Um, so about the among the two document indicator report and the reflection, which one you want to talk about first?
Reflection will be fine.
All right. So let me share this. So you talked a little bit about a church member who lost two children back to back, and that's horrible disaster for that family. I was sorry to hear that. So I just wonder, what about this case you want to talk about?
Um, I guess because it's hard for me to especially when children are involved, I guess to have that.
Mhm.
And this is an older woman, mind you, and her kids, were older, but still just I guess talking about that to somebody who, has lost. I mean, one child's bad enough, but two, it's kind of difficult to talk about,
Yeah.
and finding the words to say,
Always tough. Yeah. So my question is, do you want to know more about the skill set to approach this case, or you want to know about how you be prepared emotionally about this kind of case? What specifically you want to know more about, or you just want to process it here with us?
Yeah, I guess what to really say, because I've talked to, people before about certain things like that. And I don't want to hear about God right now, anything like that. So, what approach do you really take, in that situation?
Mhm. So you simply put here, she talked about both of her losses and how hard it was on her. She told me that she just wanted to give up. She talked a while longer, and we prayed and hung up. Okay. Speaking of finding the right approach to these cases, as you go back to this case and your intervention, what spiritual needs did you find in her?
She seemed a little bit kind of, a little bit depressed.
Depressed. Okay.
Um,
Right.
yeah. Because she said she wanted to give up,
Mm-hmm.
because but she still has a one more child left, but she still felt like that was just too great of a loss for her, to keep living. And she
Right.
didn't get out of bed for a long time. That's why she hadn't been to church in those
Mhm.
months since, because she wouldn't get out of bed and take care of herself or anything.
Right. So there's possibility of a depression, she assumed. And she also looked, it seems like you assessed that there's some loss of meaning. Is that what you found?
Right.
What else did you find in terms of her spiritual needs?
I guess wondering why that happened to her.
Okay, so she's asking why it happened. Yeah.
Mhm.
She wants to know why and how it happened, the reason. Okay,
Yeah.
right. All right. Anything else you want to add to that?
Um, no.
Okay. All right. Now let me share this with you. So you remember she showed the spiritual needs about depression and try to find the meaning and
Hmm.
then try to find why it happened. And okay, these are all beautiful assessment, by the way, I think, Lisa. And about these agendas, what did she expect you to do for her, you think, out of these roles? Empathic
Um,
listening. Do you see this document in front of you?
yeah.
Right,
Hmm.
right. Exploring, reframing, advocating, prayer, blessing, empowering, integrating, affirming presence.
I think just being present and the empathetic listening and being present.
Yes. Empathetic listening and being present as a body and then listening ear.
And
Right.
prayer as well. We prayed it
And
before.
prayers. Yes. Yes. So out of those three expectations, how well did you do in terms of providing care to meet these needs for her?
Um, I was present and I did listen,
Mhm.
but I didn't like interrupt or anything and
Right.
interject anything because I never
Right.
really felt there was an opportunity to do that.
Yeah. Because you assess that, it seems like you assess that there's no need, that there's no invitation for it to interject anything. She was just asking for a presence. And then you assessed it well, and you did it very well. You offered very empathic presence, empathic listening, and prayer as she needed for you. I think you did the right thing. Yeah.
Okay.
So next time, this is my recommendation and expectation for you, Lisa. I
Hmm.
think you are doing it so well, but for the sake of your learning process, I want you to be able to recognize all of this process.
Okay.
So when you go in, start with spiritual assessment. Remember the question that I asked you? What spiritual needs did she have?
Hmm.
Okay, so you talked about depression, trying to find meaning and why it happened. And another spiritual needs from her was her expectation for it to play certain roles.
Hmm.
So do you have this chart that I sent you before?
It's right here.
Yeah. So before you make a visit or before you make some pastoral care visits or calls, I want you to take this out and just skim through these roles before
Hmm.
you make calls or visits and go through the steps. So spiritual assessment, okay, and then try to find your role, which is part of your assessment, okay,
Hmm.
and then choose your intervention, which is so because you assess that there's a request or expectation for empathic listening and presence and prayer, you did offer non-anxious presence, even though at certain points you were wondering, do I interject something? But you still assess that, okay, the major request, expectation for you is to be present. So you just remain being present, and then you offer a prayer at the end. Okay, so
Mhm.
on your paper, not only on your paper, but in your mind, I want you to purposely recognize these steps. Okay, start with a spiritual assessment,
Mhm.
in which you find the needs and her expectation for you to place in a role is all
Mhm.
included. Okay,
Okay.
and then choose the right intervention, and then you offer it. Okay,
Mhm.
and then you talk about it on the verbatim.
Talk about it on the verbatim.
Yes, you show it on the verbatim.
So you want me to use this situation on the verbatim?
Yeah, that'd be a good idea if you think it's, yeah, it went through that process. Do you think you went through that process, that steps that I mentioned with this case or not?
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
Okay, so if that's the case, I want you to write a verbatim on this, going through each step. So on the verbatim, I want you to articulate, explain it clearly, the steps you made.
Okay.
All right. Why are you doing this? Because you can do this the next visit in more clear way. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Donna, you have a comment?
Yes, Lisa, sometimes thinking about your question, sometimes when I get to an end of a visit and I've done all that,
Mhm.
I do wonder, is there anything else I need to say? And
Mm.
so I ask, is there any other way I can support you today? And
Mm.
sometimes they will say, no, I just needed you to listen, Pastor, or no, Chaplain, I just needed you to listen. Thank you. You have supported me. Can we pray? Or do you know any scriptures
Mm.
or songs? Right. But I'll have asked that question. Is there any other way I can support you today? Because I'm coming alongside them, not help you. Any other way I can support you today? And then
Okay.
they get to name it. And it may be, can we talk again? Or whatever. But at least it gives me a sense of I have met their spiritual care need as I have assessed it today. And if I miss something, they'll tell me.
Okay.
And then if they name something out of the realm of my spiritualist, my role that I've
Mhm.
identified, then I let them know that's not within my role. And maybe I'll point to a resource.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So that, because that
Mhm.
you say, what else do I say? That might be helpful. So
Yeah.
I offer
Thank
that.
you. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Donna. That's a good point.
Mhm.
And the wording Donna's made is very important, Lisa, because
Mhm.
many times new chaplains make mistakes by saying, is there anything that I can do for you? Which is very, very different from saying, is there any other way or any way or any other way that I can support you? Those two are very, very different things. So jokingly, sometimes the patients or the care recipients say in response to that comments from chaplain saying that, all right, can you buy me lunch? Can you buy me
Mm.
dinner? Yeah. So that's why there's a huge difference between saying, oh, is there anything that I can do for you? Whatever I can do for you. And then I see a lot of chaplains finishing the visit with that comment, which is very, very different, and it's kind of dangerous. Yeah.
Right.
Because I'm gonna ask you, can you pay my bill?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
I got
I
this
mean,
PG&E bill. Can you pay it?
Yeah. So, but I've seen so many patients who end the visit with that comment, which is very different from the way Donna said. So Donna, that's just such a beautiful way to form to say, is there any way I can support you, or any other way that I can support you?
right.
And I
Um,
use the other way because you were already with your
Right.
empathetic listening and you're
yeah,
about to pray and all that.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Again, we're going back to the conversation we had last week, which is about the difference between doing and being.
Right.
Yeah, the more you grow on your role as a chaplain, the more you'll find the value of offering um, offering pastoral care by presence. by being, because you have a different being, and the different being offers support, not by doing something. And another beautiful way to end the conversation with the visit that might also help them to say more or come up with a different agenda is by asking them, in their prayer, at the time of prayer, by asking them, so what would you like me to pray for? Instead of jump into praying for them, regardless, ask them, so is there anything that you want me to pray for? Then surprisingly, they come up with a totally new topic that you have not talked about all day long.
Okay.
Yeah, you'll be surprised many times. So make sure to ask, what do you want me to pray for? Yeah, what would you like me to pray for? But
Okay.
again, Lisa, I think this is, I assume, even the way you said it, I assume that was a good visit. But I'm more interested in how you are aware of what you're doing. Okay? Because it makes big difference. So remember the steps. Okay?
Okay.
Be able to describe your visit according to the steps.
Okay.
I had a curiosity around it as well. May I ask you?
Uh-huh.
I was curious if some of the loss you have experienced was coming up for you, as this older woman is talking about the loss that she's experienced, and she felt like giving up, and she was staying in the bed and all of that. Did any of that come up for you?
I think it did kind of trigger me because I felt a certain kind of way, So I think it did kind of trigger me because especially when I said the fact that when I said about I forgot what I said, but anyway, it was about you don't want to hear about God when certain situations happen. Because when that happened to me, somebody was like, well, you got to trust God. You can't be angry or whatever. And I was like, don't talk to me about God. I didn't want to hear about God. So, so I feel, I don't know if they feel that way, but I felt that way. So it kind of brought that up for me. So, I don't know if that makes sense or not, but
It does make sense. And so was the result that you didn't talk about God?
no, I didn't. I mean, I did pray in the end, but I did not talk about God in that situation at all.
That's great self-awareness.
Yeah.
That's great, Lisa. That's great. It tells me, thank you for bringing that up, Lisa. Donna. So it tells me that you were aware of the countertransference and you found appropriate way to use that countertransference. Okay. You made a differentiation and you decided not to go in there. And I'm trying my best to show you and claim what you did in your words. So you said, because you were aware of your countertransference. And then by the time she said, no, I don't want to talk about God. And you did not talk about that.
No, she never said it.
Oh, yeah. So you assessed that. You
Yes.
assessed that. So
Yes.
by assessing that and you didn't go there, you didn't talk about that. So
Right.
what role did you play? Empathetic listening, exploring, reframing, advocating, prayer, empowering, integrating, affirming presence. You assessed that she didn't want to talk about that. So you didn't go there.
Maybe reframing or
Okay, in what way you say reframing?
I guess instead of saying something about the Bible or God, we talked more about the community and how they supported her, and
yeah.
how
So
that made her feel good.
right. So reframing has more to do with like a changing their ideas.
Okay.
Yeah, changing their perspectives.
Okay.
Was it about changing her perspectives, or was it more to do with taking her side? Or was it more to do with like affirming her ideas? Or was it more to do with like giving her power, empowering her to say I'm okay, to say I'm right?
Maybe affirming.
All right. Yeah. Yeah. It could be affirming, I think. You did affirming, and you could also say you're advocating her in a way. You're right.
Okay.
What you're doing is right. I'm on your side. Yeah. So again, I want you to be more familiarized with these terminologies. So let's say
Okay.
you're doing it not really like claiming this CP terminologies. And then I'm suggesting you to be more familiarized with this terminologies so that on your next verbatim, you can say these things on your verbatim by saying something. Okay, so this is what I did. I affirmed her, or I affirmed her stance about, how she understands this tragedy. Okay. She didn't want to talk about God's involvement in this. So I affirmed her or I advocated her. Does it make sense?
Mhm.
So use the language. Why we use the language? It's not just about for the sake of, making the educators happy. It's more to do with you can do this regularly next time in next visits because you have a clear understanding about what you're doing.
Okay.
Very good job. Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing that's helpful about that question, is there anything else I can do to support you? If it was your countertransference, I know I wouldn't want to talk about God, so we're not going to talk about God. But she wanted to talk about God. When you asked that question, she might have said, "Where is God in all this?" And then you would be like, "Oh, okay. She wants to talk about God." And then you could go there. So you get
Right.
to use your self-awareness, make a assessment. Hey, I'm not going to go there because I have the lived experience. That's not helpful. But then there's this open door because maybe her experience is different. And you're right
Right.
there coming alongside her.
Okay.
Great
Sounds
job.
good.
Great
Thank
job.
you. Thank you.
Wonderful, Lisa. Yeah. I see you growing more to the point that now you're more and more aware of your countertransference. Now you're ready to use that for your visit's sake. Sometimes you can use it to make a momentum to better connect. Sometimes to remind yourself, oh no, she's not me. So you have to
Right.
yourself aside. So either way, that's how you use your countertransference. So you're growing and growing. Great evidence of your growth. Like that. Okay.
Thank you.
Of course, that's a hard question if she does say, "Where is God?" But you got it, Lisa. You got it. That's when you turn it back. Where do you think God is? But no, I'm just kidding. You got it.
Yeah. Here you said, to be honest, I was kind of glad, and she led the conversation and just wanted me to listen and pray. So I from this sentence, I hear just a little bit of countertransference too. Whenever there's some emotion, yeah, there might be a possibility of countertransference, and there's some hesitance, emotion, no response, whatever that is, and it's when there's no response and reaction. We can be suspicious of countertransference. And there's another thing that I wanted to bring to your attention is, so far we talked about the trying to figure out the spiritual needs in terms of spiritual assessment. But there's another section, big section within spiritual assessment, which is about figure out the spiritual resources. Okay. As you look back, what kind of spiritual resources did she have? I can tell right away, even from this paragraph, what spiritual resources did she have?
You mean as far as the church people
Yes.
being there for her?
Yes, church community, loving and caring and hugs, welcoming back. And all of these things are wonderful spiritual resources for her. And there's another great spiritual resource for her. You mentioned And I'm very curious if you can claim it.
Um, um,
For her. She named it as her spiritual.
um, my sermons.
Yes. Yes, Lisa. Don't you ever leave it out. You have a great sermon. You have great messages you're making. She enjoyed that. What about your sermon did she enjoy, you think,
Um,
that might
sure.
impact her situation or her mind?
I don't even remember what the sermon was, but I think it might have been about hope.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. So what about hope? How does it work for her situation? What kind of hope is that? How does it function in a
mm,
situation like hers?
I guess it gives her a sense of peace that no matter what, God is always with her.
Yes.
And he loves her no matter
Yeah.
what.
Right. Yeah. So when you write verbatim, when you do assessment, spiritual assessment of the patient or the care recipient,
Hmm.
please remember spiritual assessment is not just about assessing their spiritual needs, but also about their spiritual resources.
Okay.
And when you write about her spiritual resources, I hope you don't leave out your messages and how it impacted her. Are you a good preacher?
Yeah, I think so.
In what way?
Um, I always talk about the love of God and no matter who we are, what we are, what we've ever done in life,
Hmm.
that God still loves us. I know a lot of people reject people on certain basis, but that's
Hmm.
not the kind of God we serve. We serve a
Right.
loving, caring God who doesn't reject anybody. He
Yeah.
doesn't have an ulterior motive for love. It's just
Right.
there, you
Right.
know.
So
Most, most of my sermons are about.
right. So Lisa, as a spiritual caregiver with such theology, okay. If some pastor, spiritual caregiver with such theology, um, how would she provide care to the care recipients if she has that kind of theologies?
Mm.
I'm asking you about the theology of care by somebody like that who has that kind of theologies.
I'm still not quite sure what you're asking me.
So let me just directly just put it for you. You have such theology, right? You believe you believe and you talk about God who is always loving and caring no matter what, regardless.
Right,
You have that theology of God.
right.
When you function as spiritual caregiver to care recipients, it is natural for you to live it, right? In your saying, in your action, in your treating people. Okay. So how do you think it is demonstrated, your theology of God, right? That kind of God. How it is it demonstrated in your action of caregiving, in your saying, in your gesture, in your hugging, in your welcoming, in your looking. How is it demonstrated?
Um, I guess it's just the way, I guess how I carry myself, and the actions that I take and how I treat people,
Right.
um,
Yes.
everybody, on the
Right.
street, whoever, homeless, whatever. It's
Right.
just everybody I meet, how I treat them.
Right. So how? I'm asking you how.
I treat them with care. I treat them with love. I treat
Okay.
them.
So I'm kind of I'm trying to assist you to get to your theology of care. That's what I'm working on right now.
Okay.
Because I see your theology of God is beautiful. And you talked about that God is always caring and loving and be present with you no matter what. So you have a hope. And I see that as a gist of your theology of God and his care. And I'm very curious about how you're going to form it, transfer it into your theology of care. So let me put it this way. What have you heard from your congregants or friends who have experienced your care about the way you provide care to people? What do they say about your style of care?
Mm. Um, they always thank me and say that they like the way that I take care of the community and I take care of them.
Mhm.
Even some of my cousins have told me that recently, that you're always thoughtful and you always try to meet a need before the person even asks for it. You kind of seem to know when somebody needs something.
Oh,
And
I love
so
it.
that's what I hear from people around me. But
Oh, I see. That's amazing. Okay, Lisa, do you remember what you just said? Say that again, please.
well, like I said, my cousins and have recently told me that they thank me for always being there and doing things for them, and how I meet a need before they even ask. But I always seem to know when they need something.
Okay, write it down, Lisa, before you forget, please. Write it down right now.
Okay.
Write it down before you forget. That's beautiful. So people see you as a spiritual caregiver who somehow know their needs before they even say, and they're always present, and then they even ask something, you're already there. Start working to provide something for them, which is amazing. And it tells me and then reflects me. I think that it reflects on your theology of God, who is always there regardless, and who knows us even before we say something. Okay. Very good, Lisa. All right. Now here's my assignment for you, Lisa.
Okay.
Try to remember and collect and write down all the comments of your friends and congregants about the way you provide care. Just like you mentioned about your quote from your cousin. Collect them as much as possible. Write them down. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Also, write down your theology of God. What kind of God you think he is. You just explain to us. Also, write it down. And then after you write all of this, your theology of God and also your style of care from what you hear from your friends and congregation,
Mm-hmm.
you read them through over and over again, at least 5 times, and there will something arise out of it about your caring style, your theology of care. This is beautiful, Lisa. Beautiful beginning.
Thank you.
Because out of this document you wrote, Donna also commented that I think you did a beautiful job with her.
Mm-hmm.
And what I'm seeing right now, what my observation is that somehow in you is blocking you from seeing your values and your strength and your uniqueness. Something is blocking you from seeing it. You're doing it, but it's hard for you to see it. I don't know why, but something is blocking you from claiming it and seeing it.
Yeah, because I had a friend, she always asked me how my sermon was, and I was like, well, the people say it's okay. She was like, well, what do you say? I was like, well, the people said it was okay. So it's hard for me to kind of give myself kind of you know, praise for myself, I guess. Um, it's very hard to do.
Um,
And I don't accept praise very well, or gifts very well from other people. I
okay.
don't know.
Yeah, Lisa. So think about this, and there's a reason why I'm pushing you to clarify and to recognize your strength and your style of care and your theology of care is because if you do not believe in that a human deserves to be affirmed, how can you provide genuine affirmation to another person? In other words, you're delivering something you don't believe.
I believe it.
But you
I do believe it. I believe
Yeah,
it.
seems like you believe in the power and the value of offering the affirmation to others, but you don't believe in for yourself, and there's some discrepancy, and then we call it incongruence.
Yeah.
When there's incongruence, your care recipients smell it, and they put like, it's a good thing. Oh, Pastor Lisa is doing wonderful thing for me. But why I feel like, make my head kind of there's something strange. I don't know how to explain, but see what I'm talking about, Lisa? We call it
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, we call it incongruence. It'll happen only when you believe the affirmation for yourself. If it happens only when you believe in the value of yourself, you can truly offer the affirmation or the empowerment to your care recipients, and they will accept it truly.
Something for me to work on.
Definitely. And that's why we want to form your care theology of care, because it does matter. It matters. You're doing it. And then when you're pushed to the corner, and then you start acknowledging, oh yeah, I'm doing good. I'm doing this good. but until you're pushed to the corner, I don't know what I did. And but when you're pushed, you did claim it. Oh, by the way, this is what I did, and this is what I hear from people. But until you're pushed, you didn't say it. So like, interesting. So Lisa, that's why we emphasize, the students build up and crystallize their theology of care, because it is directly connected to what they offer and the quality of their spiritual care.
I can see that.
Yeah. One of the students, Vetana, go ahead.
I just wanted to offer a little quick analogy. And I'm curious if some of this is just language, that this is not language you're familiar with. But as a poor seminarian, I went to the grocery store, and I before I left, I put my hand on the outside of my pocket, and I was like, "Yep, I have a $5 bill. That's all I have. This one $5 bill." So I went grocery shopping, got my little $5 worth of groceries, got in line. When I put my hand in my pocket to pull my money out, it was a $10 bill. So in that moment, I couldn't use what I didn't know I had. So there was a way in which when you know what you have, you're able to use it even more. And so it's just the language we use might make it difficult for you to talk about it, but that recognizing what you have helps you use it. So I got out of line, got $5 more. I hope that's helpful. Just a little simple analogy.
It is. It is definitely helpful.
Oh, I love that analogy. I'm going to use it. Quoting you. That's beautiful. That's beautiful analogy. Except I don't think that's a $10 bill. It's a $100 bill. Seriously.
We'll take it. We'll take it.
I hope to see you freely claiming it as yours. This is me. My sermon touched her, and she found hope in the midst of this mishappenings. It's such a tragedy, losing the children back to back. And that's such a tragedy. She still found hope through my message. It became her spiritual resource. Claim it.
Okay. I will.
Claim it. It doesn't happen every day. It doesn't happen by reading a book. God's touch happened through your message. Claim it. The more you're clear about what you're doing, the better and the more appropriate care you can provide the next visit with next care recipient. It's not being selfish, Lisa. It's not about that.
Right.
It's for your better and more appropriate spiritual care. Claim it. Because if you don't believe in being blessed, how can you bless others? Oh, before I forget, I am really appreciating your growth in offering feedback, Lisa. Oh, I
Thank you.
love to see you. Like, you don't wait until the end. I love it.
Yes, it is. And it is so consistent with your theology of care. It's so compassionate.
Mhm,
It's very specific.
mhm,
You respond with such care. It's so consistent to who you are.
Lisa, did
Thank
you
you.
write it down? Did you write it down?
Which part? What you just said about?
Yeah. Write it down before you forget. It's consistent, isn't consistent with your theology. All these are wonderful affirmation. I hope you don't just huff it away, just claim it, write it down. Yeah. Oh, I love the way you offer feedback these days. Yeah.
Yep.
Your feedback is not in a hurry. Your feedback is such a gentle, respectful, but you don't mind about like, can I say, for lack of a better term, you're judgmental, but very respectful. And there's no like emotional residual attached. Like it's non-judgment. I mean, it's judgmental, but non-judgmental. It's objective and non-anxious presence together.
Caring.
And
Even
caring.
even your feedback to Nathan's email about self-care.
Mhm.
Go back and look
Mhm.
at it. That's consistent
Okay.
with who you are. You acknowledged it, you affirmed it, you were
Mhm.
caring, you were done.
Okay, I will.
It's another example of you giving feedback to a colleague, and it was
Write
affirming.
it down, Lisa. Write it down. Yeah. You are the only one who responded with a collegial compassion.
That's right.
You are the only one who responded with collegial compassion, which is not usual, Lisa. Don't say that this is usual. No, it's not usual. Don't say it's natural because it's not natural.
Don't say it's good manners, because it's not just good manners. There's your theologies informing your compassion, your care.
Right. Yeah. So there's a connection and alignment among your theology of God, such caring God, and then the comments you hear from your colleagues, congregation, and your educators, and the way you offer care to others, they're all aligned. Okay. So when you put these three elements all together somehow and form it, it's going to be a beautiful theology of care statement.
That's very helpful. Thank y'all for the
And then
feedback.
as you're transitioning to second unit, usually if you can form a structured theology care statement in the second unit, you're successful. Because
Okay.
it's that difficult to form theology of care statement. Usually it takes at least 3 units, but I see you are forming it already. Why? Because you have started claiming
Okay.
your style. Good.
Thank
Right.
you.
We didn't have a chance to look at your indicators today, but I'm sure that you're hitting 2 or 3 a week, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay. All right. Any other question?
No, but I guess it kind of made me think a little bit that last night one of my friends had called me and told me I had offered her some help, advice, or whatever. And she said, you don't know how good you are, and you need to, and she said what you said, claim it more and under, understand the value that you have for other people. So I guess when y'all, and because I was like, no, no, I'm not all that, you know. So I was denying it, you know, when she was saying it, and she kept saying, no, you really don't know, you really don't understand. So, you know, I need to stop doing that and just claim it more and
Yes.
accept it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful, Lisa. All right. My suggestion, Lisa, one last suggestion is before you forget this, start typing up things that
Okay.
you wrote down today. These are such a wonderful thing. Have a good week. We'll see you next Wednesday.
All right. Y'all do the
Take
same.
care.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
See you. Hi, Kelly.
Hi,
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Are you at home?
Yes,
Okay. You look relaxed.
yes.
Yesterday, you look a little stressed. It was mainly because of that sharing. Yeah. I was sorry to hear that. Yeah. Okay. I hope you feel better today. And then, so we have your two assignments, and then you want to talk about one of them, or you want to talk about something else?
Um, I did have a question about the outcome tracker, the very last one where it
Mhm.
talks about integrating research. Um, do you have any suggestions on that one?
Okay. Donna, would you mind asking? I'm answering.
Yes. No, no, no. So, so I often suggest for the research piece, starting with the spiritual care, pastoral spiritual care journal, because there's so many resources in there. Are you already a member of the Association of Professional Chaplains or not yet? Okay. Well, the good news is it's free, even if you're not. So I often let me pull the link up and I'll email it to you. That can be a great place to start, and you can search by subject, and then you get primary research. So I'll pull it up. That's my only suggestion, Joseph. You have another? I'm saying the name wrong, but once I find it,
Yeah. Yeah.
you'll get it.
Can you share it with me too?
Okay, I'll send it to both of you.
Okay. So, Kelly, I'm curious. So your question was about where to go to find the research resources, or how you use that for your project or for your documentation. What was your question about?
Well, mainly just how to find it first, and then
Okay.
yeah, then I think I maybe could figure out how I could integrate that, but
Okay.
I just didn't really know where to start looking.
Okay.
Got it.
Right. So speaking of research, so research does not necessarily mean to go to this professional article database. You can do other sorts of researches as well. So research is basically when you have a question, you go a deeper step and explore more to find about what that is. So they are all researches. So for example, you want to know more about the palliative care chaplaincy, about what they do, how they make visits. You can do research on this YouTube or other video materials that also is included research. So it's more like being researcher means could also be referred to as being a detective. You have a question, and then you pursue the answers or the responses to that question deeper or broader way. That all is included into research. Okay, so videos, surveys, longitudinal research, meaning like you do like shadowing with a professional expert in a certain area. So all of them are included in research. Being a detective of your question.
Well, that sounds much better.
Yeah, but of course, it
Serious.
also involves a lot of professional languages and terminologies, and yeah. And I'm so glad that we have Donna, who's a professional researcher here. Yeah, I mean, I'm not joking.
Kelly,
Seriously.
did you get that little dig? I got that little dig.
Not to embarrass you. All right. Any other question?
I don't think so. I think that was kind of my main one because I'm getting close to having all my outcome trackers
All right.
completed. So,
I assume that you have no question about the indicators. So you want to talk about the reflection?
sure.
Mm.
Yeah. Let me
All right.
pull that up. Oh, yes. I might write a verbatim on this one. I haven't decided yet.
Mm. Excuse me.
So yeah, for this one, it was an interaction I had with a primary caregiver of one of our patients.
Mm.
So she recently moved the patient that I had been visiting, her mother was in a facility for a few months, and then they were having financial trouble being able to pay for that facility any longer. So the daughter moved the patient in with her, and it's just caused a lot of just a lot of different dynamics in the family. It's been really taxing on their family in a lot of different ways. And so when I went to visit, the patient was actually asleep. And so I decided to stay and visit with the primary caregiver. And she was just very emotional, very overwhelmed, shared a lot about her financial stress, her emotional stress, just the emotional stress of just seeing her mother decline more and more, and then also the physical stress of trying to physically care for her mother on a daily basis. It was becoming more and more difficult because um her mother was just kind of it's starting to lose the ability to help her, like being able to move certain ways and things like that. So and the household is already multi-generational. There's children and grandchildren and many folks in the home. And one of the grandchildren is autistic. And so it it was a really good visit. I felt like, um, with like I write about this in the reflection that within myself, I did have some countertransference with about the granddaughter being autistic, because obviously that makes me think about my daughter, but I was able to recognize that and differentiate. But I did feel like there was a connection with this primary caregiver, because she started telling me stories about the granddaughter, and I could really relate to them. And so I felt like we had a connection in that. And so for our relationship, I didn't know this lady all that well. This is really my first time really visiting with her. I'd only met her a few times very briefly before. But I felt like it was a really good visit because she was able to like open up about all of this stress she was feeling, all of these different things that she was experiencing. And at one point in the conversation, I found myself trying to offer resources because I felt like, oh, well, maybe, she's having this financial struggle. So maybe she needs like resources like from our social worker, or maybe she needs, she's talking about how it's taxing on her physically. So maybe she needs more help from our aides, So I got in this little period of time where I was trying to figure out, well, maybe she needs more services. But I realized in the middle of the conversation, like that really wasn't what she was wanting at all. She was just wanting somebody to vent to and somebody to listen to her. So I felt like that was, you know, really great. I was able to recognize like, oh, this is not the intervention she needs. And so I was able to change that in the middle of the visit and like recognize like, oh, okay, she doesn't want to talk about resources. She just wants to vent to me about what's going on. And so I felt like I was able to adjust and be able to be present with her. So just applying active listening, and just being present with her, listening to her worries, her stress, her concerns. It made me think about the theologian Paul Tillich. He wrote that the first act of love is to listen. And I felt like I really wanted to model that in this visit. And so for future visits, planning to offer a lot of the same interventions for her, just being a listening ear, being somebody that she can vent to and somebody to affirm all the things that she's going through. So
This is great example of level 2B learning goal, which is to be able to evaluate your assessment and intervention in the middle of it, and then you do changes in the middle of it, and then ended up providing the more appropriate intervention. Good example. Kudos. Wow. And then I'm great to see you are making great differentiation between interpersonal and intrapersonal. Great job. Interpersonal means in between. So you see something or somebody in her case. Intrapersonal means inside us, inside you, inside her. Yeah. Thoughts and feelings arise. Okay, Kelly, go home and take a nap. Unless you have other question, unless Donna has a question.
How did you feel about your intentional use of your countertransference? This was a time you seemed to be very aware, and you used it, not.
I was a little nervous to use it at first, just because I'm a very emotional person. And so like, go into that emotional space where I'm thinking about my daughter and thinking about, other children with special needs. I was a little nervous at first, but it really, it turned out really well, because like we were able to talk about it in a way that really kind of brought us in closer connection with each other and closer relationship. And it didn't feel like, it felt like, I don't know, it just, in the moment, it felt like I had a good like handle on it, because I was really recognizing kind of all of the feelings within myself. And I felt like I was able to recognize some of the feelings that was going on within her. And just being able to keep track of all of those things going on. I was really proud that I was able to do this.
Yeah. Who needed resources?
Well, I felt like she did.
Why do you think you felt that way?
Well, because, she just seemed like she might need some extra help, because she was, complaining like, oh, I can't seem to get this together. I feel like, I can't, lift her anymore, and I'm just not sure, what to do. And so I think that's, I felt like that was a need I was hearing. But then I realized it was more like, oh, she just needs to get all of this off her chest.
Mm-hmm. So do you recall a time when you needed resources, when you didn't know what you were doing?
Yes. I feel like that as a parent. Yes. I'm always needing resources. I always feel like I don't really know what I'm doing, but I'm in it, and I'm doing the best I can. And she was doing the best she could.
Yeah. And being affirmed and heard, and as you said, venting, yeah, was what she needed then. She may also need these resources, but you were able to appreciate both, in part because of your experience. And that was very skilled to make that awareness and pivot. It was powerful. Yeah. Well
Thank you, Donna.
done.
Yeah,
Well
thank you,
done.
Donna, for bringing that up. Yeah. So Kelly, speaking of spiritual assessment, there are two parts. One is figuring out her needs, spiritual needs, and also figuring out her spiritual resources. What spiritual resources did she have instead of not have?
Yes, so she is a person of faith. They don't go to church right now, but she is a person of faith, and she does talk about prayer. She appreciates that. And she does have supportive family. She has some supportive aunts and cousins that she relies on. So she does have some resources. And I've talked with her also about tapping into those resources, making time to care for herself, because she has become almost like a full-time caregiver in a very short amount of time. And I can tell it's taxing on her. And so
Yeah, you mentioned very shortly about that in the behavior section at the bottom of the behavior paragraph. You said they were a multi-generational household already. Right. So she did have resources from family. You mentioned that, but I hope on your next document, I hope you can balance it out between spiritual needs and spiritual resources in terms of having spiritual assessment. Right.
yep, I can do that.
Yeah, and then part of the reason why you didn't go that part much, it might have to do with your countertransference, as Donna was bringing. And can you also name another?
Wait, hold on just a second, Joseph. Kelly, I saw you go, maybe not. Did you want to say something there?
Well, I was thinking that I think because we traditionally document on the patients, like I feel like I think more thoroughly about that than I do about, and that's probably something that I do need to work on, because does that make sense? Because you have to think of like, oh, what's the spiritual strengths for the patient and the spiritual resources? What's the spiritual concerns and things for the patient? And so those are the things that we're truly documenting. But I think that it's important. I think you're absolutely right. It's important for me to note those things for the primary caregivers too. That way they can tap into those resources and meet their spiritual needs as well. So I think it was just because I was thinking of, oh, I have to write all this about the patient, and I can just kind of put a little excerpt about how I did this care with the primary caregiver. Does that make sense?
Right.
So for
Yeah.
for my documentation, I think that's probably why I didn't write as much, is because I wasn't forced to fully think about it
Right.
like I
I
usually
see where you're coming from. Yeah, I also see what Donna is trying to comment. So the reason why I hope you can see balance it out is because, and also the reason why I mentioned that it might have to do with the countertransference is because when you assess your life, when you assess yourself, do you see somebody that you really believe in the power of affirmation?
like for me, like so for me, like I feel like affirmation is very important for me. Like
Right. So in that sense, and also, do you see yourself as a person with spiritual resources?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's what I'm getting at. So when you are able to see yourself with agendas and needs, and as much as like spiritual resources, with that lens, then you can see your care recipient with somebody with agendas and also spiritual resources. So the way you see it yourself impacts the way you see your care recipients. Yeah. So that's what I was wondering. Okay. And then also it goes back to my last question about you. So when you were making a visit with this patient, there was a major spiritual resource she had, you're missing. Can you think about that? Very, very important piece. As a spiritual resource for her. when you made a visit with her, she had a very important, powerful spiritual resource she had that you're missing. You mentioned about her faith. You mentioned her about her extended family. What else she had when you made a visit with her as a spiritual resource?
Well, I mean, she had me. She has the hospice team, of
Yes,
course.
she had Kelly. She had Kelly. That's a major, major spiritual resource for her. Yeah. So that's one of the reasons why I was looking for that part. Like, were you able to see yourself as a spiritual resource, a major spiritual resource for her? Yeah.
But even naming that, Kelly, you said she has the hospice team, which I totally understand. Totally understand how you're communicating and totally understand how there's the patient and then there's the primary caregiver, and they're two different people. And the framing I'm bringing is there's a spiritual caregiver, Kelly, and there's spiritual care receivers. One is a patient, one is a primary caregiver. And so I'm adding that lens as I'm reading it. So it's not just she got the hospice team, she has a spiritual caregiver whose name is Kelly, who's present at that moment, and she is ready to receive spiritual care, not a list of resources from the hospice care team. And you picked up on that. And claiming that is a part of you continuing to claim the power of your presence as a spiritual caregiver who happens to be on a hospice child team right now. Does that make sense?
It does, yes.
It was powerful moment. Powerful, powerful. Yeah.
Yeah, this is a beautiful job, Kelly. Yeah. And remember, every now and then I comment on your strength of document, which is you're very good at listing up your interventions. And I hope you can claim it as a major spiritual resource for your care recipient, because it is a hope for this person, I assume. It is a resource of her strength, I assume, for her. So with you, without you in the picture for her life, there's a big difference.
We're always picking on you, I think, with words, but I think it changes the notion of she just needed to vent. She needed spiritual care, and that's what you provided. It just slightly, I don't know that I would say she just needed to vent. She needed your empathetic, understanding, journeying her with her, the way you could listen and know what she was talking about in unique ways that others wouldn't even know. I mean, wow. So just vent, yes, but but so much more too.
Yeah. It goes back to, I think, your second verbatim or something like that. You said, I was there simply. I just be there. And then we kind of picked on you. We're not just, there. It's more than, I would just be there. I just sat there for it. It's as if like, I have an aunt who was a really good cook as I was growing up, and then she adored me to death. And I was the firstborn of my generation, and she loved me. She gave me piggyback all the time, and she fixed me the best dinner that I could ever imagine. And I thanked her 1,000 times, and whenever I thanked her 1,000 times, there's nothing. There's nothing. She poured her energy and love and care for me, and then she spent hours. And and standing in the smoke and grilling different stuff, and it's come up with like this beautiful dinner, and then, well, thank you, nothing. And I just did it. I don't think she just did it. She poured everything on her. And you keep saying, I felt like, I just sat there and I feel like I did this. And that's, I'm sorry to kind of exaggerate this, but I hope that it is here on the document, because the way I appreciate your visit, hope that your readers also can see that on the document. After this unit, you're on your own, Kelly. Yeah. I hope I can have you back for another 5 units. So we have a plenty of time to process this again. But
Oh my goodness, it keeps increasing, Kelly. You're never going to get to leave. Now it's 5 units. He only wanted to get you back for 1 more. Now you're never leaving, Kelly. You're here.
You're stuck with us. You're stuck with us. That's how much we love you. Yeah. Yeah. But because of that, that makes me say this kind of stuff more out of our love and care for you, because it's so good. You did such a good job, and we want you to be recognized, not more than who you are, just exactly as the way you are. No more than. And the readers can also see that on your document as well. So that's one of the reasons I challenge you on your next document, whenever you go back and edit, whenever you find I felt, change it, I assessed. And even today you kept saying I felt. I hope each time I felt like changing it for you. Like I assessed, because you did assess. I want to check on you about where you are right now about this, and I have something else to comment. How do you feel right now?
I'm feeling good about it. I feel like I really appreciate all of your feedback on it, and I really feel like I've grown a lot this unit, and I'm really proud of the work I've done. So I appreciate it so much.
Yeah. Yeah. So I hope you can not only say it, write on a document. Say something like, you don't want to say I'm very proud, but you can say like, I assessed that my visit as a spiritual caregiver who could connect with her with a similar experience, life story, and so that we intersected. And I assessed that she was also experiencing it through my care for her. And then she saw me as a major, impactful spiritual resource. Yeah, something like that. Because
in my mushiest version of it, as I'm imagining it, you created a moment where she felt safe enough to pour out her rawest feelings that maybe with others would have been met with judgment or quick religious platitudes. But you created a space that allowed her to pour herself out. And then you held it. And I think that was healing. But that's just me. What do I know?
I second that. Yeah. So that was made possible because it was you, Kelly. And I want you to be able to say it, claim it on the document. Okay? As a major resource. Hey, let me do a little sidetrack. It's a little sidetrack, but it might have to do with this agenda. This is my observation for you, Kelly, recently. So when I ask you something, sometimes you say, I don't know. When I kind of invite you to imagine something or some feelings, and you say, I don't know. And this is my guess. My conjecture is that you do have some ideas in your mind. but you're not sure if that is right answer that I was looking for, so that you don't let it out. That was my conjecture. Or is it really that you have like a blank-minded?
Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes when you ask me to imagine things, like my mind is just blank and I'm like sitting here like just searching for something and I just can't find anything.
Yeah. So that's really blanked out. You have no idea, no feelings.
I mean, I might have feelings, but I don't know. Sometimes like things like imagine something. I don't know. It's just hard for me to answer questions like that on the spot because I'm super reflective. And so like
Yes. So bingo, Kelly, you are super reflective. You have a lot of thoughts.
And you've
So-
said 3 times right here, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know.
yeah, because I'm processing. I can't.
But yeah, that's different. But I get it now. I get it.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not I don't know. It's I need to process. Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
So Kelly, thank you for being honest with it. Have you heard of the term called I just totally forgot. Let me see.
Kelly, he doesn't know. He really doesn't know.
That's right. That's the thing. I'm blanked out.
He's blanked out. That's so helpful. You're processing. That's what you're doing.
So in trauma-informed learning theory, there's a terminology called amygdala hijacking. Have you heard that? No? Okay.
No, what is that?
Let me share this with you. So between brain and all the other sensory organs of our body, there's a door. It's called the amygdala. So all the stimuli go directly to thalamus, and it then goes right to amygdala before a signal reaches the neocortex to process, basically brain to process. And then this organ called the amygdala is there to run and govern the survival mechanism. It lets us react to things before the rational brain has time to mull things over. Okay. So for example, when our eyes see something projected to the body, to the eyes, before it gets up to brain, this amygdala reacts and shuts the eye. So this amygdala governs our body before it even gets to our brain to think. So depending on how amygdala responds, people respond to stimuli in 3 different ways: freeze, flee, or fight, even before it gets to our brain. So what might be your usual response, amygdala hijacking response, out of these 3?
I feel like mine is freeze.
Oh, yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah. So what I'm asking now is, I'm not saying that this is the reason why, but maybe it might be a pattern that you have developed in your life, which has been helpful for you in terms of your survival skill. Freeze. When your body senses some danger or fear, or whatever that is, you go to amygdala response will be freeze, so that your brain don't have to function. Your brain don't have to feel the pain or fear or threat. So if that's the case, one way to help to change the pattern is to go back to the original incidents in your life that might have triggered this amygdala response in the first place, and start from there and slowly remind you that the first incident that might have triggered you into that mode of amygdala response, you don't have to keep that response anymore because you're adult. Okay? How does it sound to you?
I mean, yeah, that sounds fine, but I don't know what my original like instances would be.
Right, right. So I'm not saying you have to go there right now, but what I'm saying now is I want to share this behavior pattern of yours. So even for that I thought would not be any harmful at all, would not have any purpose to embarrass you or to do any harm for you, but somehow your amygdala is responding in that way to go to like freeze, which is my response. Again, don't take me wrong. I'm not saying this is your case, but my case when I was growing up, I was growing up watching my dad beating up my mom and my younger sisters and beating me up, physically and then verbally. And then as a younger kid, I had no other way but to respond. Just have to choose either one of these three, and then I chose my amygdala, not from my brain. My amygdala. Whenever that happens, my amygdala responded with freeze. So I was there, but I was not there. So I was exempt from feeling it. I didn't see anything. I didn't hear anything. I didn't feel anything. So I was exempted from the result in the moment. Yeah. So my CP training has given me the permission to go back and then tell my little Joseph, who's frozen there. Joseph, I know you're really frozen. I want to remind you that you're not in that place. You're not in that moment. You're not in that time when you had to freeze. You're not there anymore. You're in a safer place. Now you're adult. Now you can handle this with your logic, with your capacity to think and process and respond with your mouth and your wisdom. And it gave me freedom. Again, don't take me wrong. I'm not saying you should be it or it's true with you. I'm using my countertransference. Right. So I hope that, again, I wish you can come back for another 5 units like me. So we can dance with this. But the reason why I'm sharing this with you is because when you experience something similar in your visit with your care recipient, in your conversation with your colleague or boss, you feel like you're froze. Remind yourself about this and find a way to respond to it and cope with it. So what could be a good coping mechanism when you experience this again? You say you're not fully processed with this. You don't have the answer yet. So what could be your coping mechanism for that when this happens in the future?
Well, like you said, just remind myself that, it's not whatever situation that happened in the past, that it's something that I can deal with now as an adult.
Right. Right. And also, you don't have to over exercise your capacity to do something for that, either going against for it or to please somebody. You don't have to do anything for that. Just simply remind yourself about what's happening. You recognize it and process. Okay. And slowly grow. I believe that you have the capacity. You have answers in you. Trust yourself. Yeah. But to have the awareness of this is very important. Any comments, Donna?
I'm curious how it's landing with you.
Um, honestly, it's a little, well, it's good, but also it's a little bit frustrating because I feel like I've been in therapy for 15 years and all the inner child work I've been doing hasn't done anything.
You know what, Kelly? The fact that you are cussing and expressing your frustration, it tells me about your growth. Yeah. Because if there's no growth, your response will be, what? What are you talking about? But you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, this inner child thing. Ironically, the more you grow, the more you accept the fact that you walk together with little Kelly. You visit together with little Kelly. You dance together with little Kelly. Ironically, to grow is to be okay with that instead of trying to let go. That's the ironic thing.
Hmm.
And then tell your little Kelly, I'm okay with you next week. Instead of get off of my back. And every now and then you look like, hey, how are you? Hey, how are you, little Kelly? How are you doing today? That's countertransference. Yeah. You said you're interested in becoming a CPA educator. A big portion of the training to be a CPA educator is to be okay with little self. Yeah.
I'm not okay yet with my little self. And occasionally that person is guiding, is informing, is the reaction people are seeing or not seeing, and when I can catch it, then I can say, excuse me, could I be in charge right now? Because the 7-year-old doesn't need to do this. So it's just a journey. It's a journey.
Yeah.
And of constant self-awareness. And that therapy, those years of therapy have been beneficial. Yeah.
I know they have. I just, CPE is such a funny thing because I feel like it pokes at the other parts of me that the therapist doesn't go to.
That's why you need both, Kelly, therapy and CPE. Yeah, that's the beauty. If you don't like this process, probably you don't want to be educated because it's
Oh, goodness.
yeah. It's always, one of the reasons why I asked you to do weekly reflection on BDTL format is not, I didn't expect you to be like perfect on processing in this way, but at least to remind you that there's always this, at least these 5 elements. At each and every visit, there are 5 elements, no matter what, period. There's always countertransference, period. It's like a lens. You can't see without through your lens. So ironically, the more you accept that, say okay with that, and you can ask this little Kelly, little Donna, little Joseph, hey, wait a minute. Can I just be in charge for the next 5 minutes? I'll get back with you in 5 minutes, please. I think I'm adult, by the way, in case you forgot. So there's always negotiation. Like there's always negotiation, My doctor told me I'm pre-diabetic right now. And then she warned me, stay away from this sweet stuff. There's always temptation from my little Joseph. Hey, just one more bite of chocolate. I think that's okay. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Can you just give me a break? Okay. I know what I'm talking, what I'm eating right now. Just give me a break. I do this talk all the time. And then when I fail, my boss, my wife reminds me, like, when I want to grow up. So we always have this talk. And being okay. We live together, Kelly. So I was, to be honest with you, I was a little ambitious when I gave you guys, you and Nathan, the speedy trial form, weekly reflection. I was a little ambitious. So I was debating in me, but the reason why I chose to give you that is because that's helpful for you at this level. And plus, this is the last unit for you. No more. So at least I wanted you to start processing in this format for the rest of your chaplaincy journey. Because there's always 5 elements. Behavior. Yeah. Dynamic, theory, intervention, learning. Always. Yeah. All of this conversation today, Kelly, by the way, is beyond your level. You already passed. But I'm ambitious for you. Because you're doing so good. You're so good. Any other question? Oh, I have one question. How's it going with your project? Level 2 project.
Yes, I need to, so I need to look at the guidelines for the project, but I've pretty much done what I'm gonna do, I think. I did a I didn't call it an All Saints. We called it, I think, a service of remembrance at one of our facilities that we support. And we had a really great turnout. It was the first time that facility had ever done something like that, where they honored all of the folks that had passed on in the last year from there. And we had like 15 residents and I think like 5 staff come.
That's awesome.
And it was really, really good. Me and the other chaplain I work with, we kind of put it together for them and held the service, and it was really great. The facility was really impressed, and we've gotten some new referrals from that facility since
Awesome.
then. So,
Awesome.
yeah.
Wow. Such a fruit. Yeah. That's what the level 2 project is for. It is meant to be practical, meant to be beneficial, not only to yourself, but also to the facility. Wonderful. I look forward to hearing your presentation. Great. Any other comment, Donna?
No, awesome. I look forward to hearing it as well. Very good.
All right. Have a good week, and I'll see you next Wednesday.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. There was a trauma-informed presentation in San Diego. I think I can't wait to see your trauma-informed presentation. It was so deep. I don't think I can use it.
Yeah. Again,
so
if it's too deep, sometimes we can help the students lost. Yeah, if it's too deep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, I need something more manageable, but it was very interesting. It was very interesting.
Yeah. Nowadays, educators are more and more interested in trauma-informed care.
Right.
Yeah, and then I forgot her first name. Her last name is Day. What was the something Day?
Okay.
Yeah. She's an expert in the trauma-informed care. That's who taught me trauma-informed care. Her presentation was so practical.
Oh, wow.
So I'm
Maybe
using
that's
this presentation that I'm using is hers, not mine.
okay.
I got her permission to use that only for my students. But I mean, her presentation was so practical. So
Will you be doing it in orientation?
no, it's for the 3rd unit. So this unit, the theme is active listening. And then second unit is, so I'm supposed to present it next unit.
Okay.
Second unit is about family systems and trauma-informed care.
Okay.
3rd unit is about personality.
Got it.
And the 4th unit is about specialties.
So that's the one that I haven't seen is family systems and trauma-informed care.
Right. Yeah, that also, those two presentations are very, very important for students to
Yeah.
understand their behavior pattern. And speaking of that, even though Dan mentioned about his business experience to explain, his behavior pattern, but I assume that there's something more. There must be something from
Oh, really?
yeah,
I
from his
didn't. I
family.
thought, okay.
Yeah.
I
That's
love that you pointed that out to him. I didn't realize you thought there was more. Okay.
yeah. Yeah, usually it begins from family dynamic.
I
And
have to learn family systems. I actually don't know family systems.
yeah,
Trauma-informed care was not a prominent thing
yeah,
when I did CP. So I'm,
yeah. Yeah, trauma-informed care is a recent stuff.
but
And
it's
like you said, there's a lot of theories and presentations about family systems theory, but again, until you find how to implement that.
yeah.
So the way I do present is I boil that theory into 8 or 9 key concepts. And then per each concept, I pair it together with the real cases and then explain, to my students about how you implement that theory into this
Okay.
case. Then they start getting it. Family system theory is so complicated. Sometimes we can easily help our students get lost by explaining that.
Okay.
So that's one of the reasons I don't necessarily like to use the genogram. Yeah. I mean, the writing, for me, drawing genogram is very enticing work, but it's hard for us to explain to the students about how to use that.
Okay.
So that's why I rather go to group theory and family system key concepts like
Okay.
transgenerational projection, like a triangulation, secret keeping.
Okay.
Yeah, instead of explaining in detail, just go by case and theory. I mean, the concepts by concepts.
Okay. When I send you the link, I will add to your email Kirby's presentation from
Mhm.
San Diego
Right,
on
right,
trauma-informed care. What
right,
I thought was helpful
right,
was she connected it to the outcomes,
right, right, right.
but the rest was over my head.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but it will make more sense to you because you know family systems and
We'll
group
see. Yeah,
dynamics.
we'll see.
Yeah.
I'm very practical person. I'll
Yes.
do my best to make it very practical and continue to weave it back to the indicators and outcomes.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you again.
And thank you for giving me the syllabus. I'm going through it. I met with Rod last night and I just started, so I'm going to get through it. I talked to him about 6 students
Mhm.
and I shared with him, I don't think I shared with you, I've put in to take those days off work again because that
Mhm.
worked best when I was
Right.
off work.
Right,
And he said he's going to see what he can do to clear his calendar to
right,
come, but he'll be
right,
in touch with you.
right, right.
So I'm working on it.
Yeah. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna invite Rod to come to the orientation through didactic. So
Okay.
that might be a natural
Okay.
intervention or natural introduction to the students.
Okay.
Yeah, by him
Okay.
presenting a didactic. Yeah, he has
Oh, okay.
so many things to present. So
I know, right? Off
yeah,
the top of his head.
he's a wise mind. One
Yeah.
of the best wise mind. He's such a wise mind. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you again today,
Thank
Donna.
you.
Your
It was
compassion,
very smooth. It's very
yeah, your
smooth.
compassionate heart, and also the empathic intervention was so evident, and that's one of your many
That's
strengths.
my strength. Yeah, that's my
Mm.
strength. So I'm trying to find theory to match it.
Right, and then your growing edges will come out by the time you start solo. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So for now, we're pairing beautiful. And then
Yeah.
I find the cues to jump in, and you just naturally, expand it. And then now it's going to be all on your shoulder to find where to begin, how to begin, what to focus, what not to focus, and when to stop, when not to stop. You have to choose.
I have to figure it out.
Yeah, you have to figure it out.
I
Yeah.
think that was beautiful, by the way, with Lisa.
Uh-huh.
And I could see you were pushing her, pushing her, pushing her.
Right.
And I was like, oh, she can't take anymore.
Right.
And that's why I said, let me try a little story.
Right.
Because it was good. She was getting it.
Right.
And I love when you say to her, write that down. Oh, okay. So, wow, she's come a long way.
Oh my gosh.
It's a different person.
She has grown a lot. She has come
Different
so far.
person.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I'm very proud of her.
I am too.
I'm very proud of Dan.
Yes.
I think Dan is the shyest student in our group. He is the most shy guy in our group, but he's coming out.
Yeah.
Lisa, in the meantime, didn't know, not necessarily who she was. Now she started finding out who she is right now.
Yeah.
Beautifully.
Yeah. This is awesome.
Yeah. And then I love the analogy you offered at the end for Lisa.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Just good. We keep going. Gonna keep
All right.
going.
Yeah, you're doing great job, and I can't wait to see you how you're gonna do your solo unit first time.
Woo! It's gonna be something. I'm bringing my little girl with me. I'm gonna just try to be more in charge than her.
All right. So here's one caveat that I may offer from out of my own failure stories. My recommendation for you is that when you feel stuck, don't try to push further.
Okay.
When you feel stuck, stop there and
Got
be okay with that
With that.
for the
Okay.
day.
Okay.
Yeah, because there can be many reasons why they're stuck. Sometimes they want to stop there to save their face. Sometimes they want to stop there because they truly don't know what to do. Sometimes they want to stop there because they think it's going too fast. But whatever the reason is, it's their call.
And it's good enough. And I'm journeying with them.
Right.
So stop.
Yeah.
Got it.
So remember when I think it was the last IS, you told me, and it was the IS for class, after the class, you don't know, how to approach Lisa, something like that. And then it was true that it might have given you that impression, but look at Lisa today. She gets it because she needed time to process by herself.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So it is okay for
Oh,
you.
that's a good example. Yes.
Yeah. So it is okay for you to feel stuck. It's nothing to do with you. It's nothing to do with the student. Simply, they just said that was enough for that today. Does not mean that they don't have the capacity to go further.
That's right.
Yeah. But so many times, it's me. So many times I felt like it was my fault. So to compensate that, I kind of pushed it further that day, and it ended up not good for the student.
Okay.
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
hope you don't make the same mistake that I did.
Thank you. That's okay. I'm learning from that. All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. And then tell your little Donna on your back.
Ooh.
Everybody's
Sometimes
okay.
she's right in front. I'm like, excuse me, can I get in here? So yes, one
Can
day
I-
she'll be behind me.
Right. Can I get under
Right.
your sleeve and teach
Yes.
you how to do? The 7-year-old try to teach you.
Yes. This has been good. Thank you so much. Thank you so
Donna.
much.
And
All
then
right.
Friday, I'm gonna meet with Rod, and I'm gonna walk him through
Okay.
about how to fill out the final evaluation.
Oh, good.
And then after that, he will send you a link
Okay.
to get access to that final evaluation,
Okay.
and on which you can write up the evaluation for Nathan.
Okay.
And then when you get the link, I'll do the Zoom with you again, and I'll walk you through about how to fill it out.
How to fill it out. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, Donna,
Appreciate
have a
that.
good
All right.
weekend.
Thank you. You too. All
Bye.
right. Take care.